Hey everyone, today we're in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, and this is a historic area of Oklahoma just around the Muskogee, Oklahoma area. And you probably heard me talk about Muskogee in some of the videos, especially dealing with the Old West or some of the lawmen, specifically Bass Reeves. But we're here to visit one grave in particular, and it has a weird, interesting story, and I wanted to share it with you. So we are in the center of the cemetery, or at least kind of what appears to be the center around this flagpole. I always love national cemeteries. They're so beautiful. And there's always a lot of heroes in them. This one has been here for a while. This is Fort Gibson National Cemetery. Pretty interesting. They have this kind of memorial marker here that is a cannon with some cannonballs on it. I know that's kind of hard to read because it's in black, but it says United States National Military Cemetery, Fort Gibson, established in 1868. And in 1967, well, I guess it says unknown 1,967, known 156. And there's a total of 2,123 in here. I'm sure that number is not exactly accurate, as it's been... There's been more and more who have been laid to rest in here. But that is interesting to see a cannon in here. But we're here for one reason, and I'll maybe pick out a couple others to tell the story of. But there's one in particular that I want to tell the story of. Veterans of all sorts of wars in here, at least after 1812 anyways, because there's one right there, U.S. Army. John P. Decatur, War of 1812. Lieutenant Richard Long, U.S. Infantry, died in 1849. There's a bunch of them in here. And this whole circle is a lot of officers. Some of them are sons of officers or wives. And but a lot of them are just officers. It's pretty interesting to see this. Flora, wife of Lieutenant D.H. Rucker, 1st Dragoons, died at Fort Gibson the 26th of June, 1845. And that one is just kind of cracked over time. All the heat and cold. Look at this one right here. Talahina R., wife of General Sam Houston. Isn't that interesting? This one, the writing is practically all worn down right there, but they did place a newer one. Nancy Binge, and date of death is January 23rd, 1917, wife of Lieutenant S. Houston Binge, United States of America. So these are some interesting ones. Big old cedar tree right here. Several cedar trees throughout the cemetery. They've been here a while because that is really big around. But the one that we're looking for is on this backside, about in this shade area. And let me tell you the story of Vivia Thomas, January 7th, 1870. Vivia Thomas is an American folk figure, and she has one of the most unusual stories. It has been told for more than 150 years. She was born in 1840 to a prominent wealthy family in Boston, Massachusetts. Vivia attended the finest finishing schools, and she was well educated. As a young lady, she regularly attended social parties of Boston's elite. It was at one of these parties where she met and fell in love with a young Army officer. Her family made extravagant wedding plans, and Vivia could hardly contain her excitement. Shortly before the wedding day, the young officer disappeared. The only trace of him was a hastily written note which he had left for her. In it, he stated he wasn't sure if he was ready for marriage and that he was going west in search of adventure. Vivia was completely heartbroken, and not only that, she was embarrassed. She soon learned that he had been stationed at Fort Gibson in Indian Territory, which is in present-day Oklahoma. At that moment, she decided to leave her home and begin her way out west on her own. The journey took several months and it was very dangerous. Vivia cut off her hair and she took on the disguise of a man in order to protect herself. She pulled this off so well that she decided to enlist in the army when she arrived at Fort Gibson. There she spent several months as an enlisted soldier in order to get close to her former fiancé. No one even suspected that she was a woman. She took every opportunity she had to observe the young officer's behavior but never approached him. He had absolutely no idea she was even there. Vivia noticed that the young officer was leaving the fort almost every night and seeing a young native woman. Her hopes of winning him back soon turned to jealousy and anger. Vivia decided that she needed to confront him, and one night in late December 1869, she hid behind some rocks and awaited his return. As he rode past where she was, she became blinded in her emotions, and she raised her rifle and shot him in the chest, which knocked him off his horse. She then returned to the fort. The next morning, a patrol discovered his body and took it to the fort. It was believed that he had been killed by a native in the area, and the case was closed. At first, Vivia was glad that she was able to get revenge, but a couple days later, she was stricken with grief over what she had done. She visited his grave every night where she wept hysterically and prayed for forgiveness. Vivia finally broke down and confessed her story and what she had done in confidence to the Fort Gibson's chaplain. 2 nights after this confession, on January 6, 1870, she returned to her former lover's grave. It was a bitterly cold night and the temperatures had dropped below zero. The next morning, a soldier on patrol had noticed her body and she had frozen to death. When the medical officer examined the body for possible causes of death, he made another discovery. Private Thomas was a woman. How could this have even happened? Then the chaplain came forward and shared the story of the confession that happened just days prior. When her story became known, most of the men of the fort admired and respected her for her courage. She was buried in the officers' circle within Fort Gibson Cemetery. Some reports say that her spirit is not at rest and that a delicate soldier can be seen kneeling near Vivia Thomas's grave, weeping softly. The apparition has also been reported to be seen and heard near the old fort's barracks area. Over time, the young officer's name has been lost and it is not known where he is in the cemetery. Some may say this is just a made-up tale, but in the same token, no one really knows who or where her family is. But this mysterious woman and her story has continued to captivate our attention for more than 150 years. Now, right next to Vivia is this one. No relation or anything, but I thought it was interesting as we have a Bowlegs, Oklahoma. But this is Billy Bowlegs, and he was a captain in Indian Territory. Like I said, there are a lot of interesting ones around this circle. And then not only that, look how many there are as you pan around here. I think the thing that is interesting about national cemeteries is all the markers are in a row. No matter which way you look at it, they might be slightly off, but it's very much like a formation, like you're mustering your company or your platoon or your battalion. They're all right here. So no matter which branch of service, they are all here in good company together. So that's going to do it for today's cemetery visit. I hope you enjoyed it. There are a lot of stories within this cemetery, and you can rest assured that I will be back here to tell some more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.